Welcome back. This is James. We are going to be going over part two, which will cover the Quirk assessment physical that Izawa does. So, where we last left off, though, is Izuku and Katsuki got their acceptance letter. So we skip to the day of like the first class and everything, and Izuku and Katsuki get up early like usual and do like their morning routine and everything. And Katsuki's like, "Yo, Izuku, I've got to head out. I said I'd meet a friend for breakfast before I went off to UA and everything. Can you apologize to Katsuri that I didn't stay to say goodbye? And I'll take her out for ice cream afterwards. Don't worry." And he was like, "Yeah, fine, but you know she's gonna cry, right?" Yeah, I know. But still, I haven't really seen this friend in a couple of years. They finally came back to town as well. So I guess I'll see you at class, right? Yeah, see you at class. So Izuku and everything finishes, goes in showers and everything, and he comes down, and this is like a good hour after Katsuki had left, and Izuku just is explains to Mitsuki and everything that Katsuki went to meet a friend for breakfast and everything, and he's already gotten everything. And Katsuri is a little upset and everything. And then Izuku says, "Don't worry, Kachan said that he would take you out for ice cream this afternoon to make up for this morning." And she's like, "Yay, ice cream!" So she's happy, and Izuku hugs him, and he goes off to school. So we skip to the school, and Izuku's like, Class 1A, Class 1A, Class 1A, where's this? And then he finds the door, like in canon, and he's like, "Whoa, big door." So he walks in, and he just sees Katsuki sitting there, and some guy in glasses and stuff is kind of like yelling at him. He's like, "You can't, why do you have your feet on the desk and everything?" And da 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 da. And, just doing the normal interaction, but Katsuki isn't really paying attention to him. He's kind of ignoring him. and he sees Izuku, and Katsuki sees Izuku, and Izuku sees him, and as soon as they make lock eyes, Izuku says, "Kachan, feet off the table, feet off the desk, or I'm telling Mom." And he's like, "Fine, whatever, but see, my shoes aren't touching the desk, it's just my legs. God. By the way, I think our teacher's behind his desk. I've been hearing someone kind of breathing back there. Or something. It just feels weird, like someone's back there." And everyone's like, "Wait, what?" And at this point, and before that, uh, before that, Uraka comes in, and she's thinking to herself, "Oh, I know that green hair." And she does this as a little bit after Izuku entered the room. And then after Katsuki says, "I think the teacher's here," and Izuku's like, "Right, everyone sit in your seats now, please." And he says it in a firm but yet friendly manner. And at this point, Mr. Aizawa stands up, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm surprised none of you noticed, though it's not surprising the two that did recognize it and actually sat down and got quiet immediately once it was broadcasted, were the two special transfer students." And at this point, everyone's kind of looking at Izuku and Katsuki, and they're like, "Whoa, special transfer." So Aizawa goes through the same motions like in canon, where he explains that they're going to be doing a physical, they're not going to be going to the thing, and on the way out, they're they they go to the locker room, and they, like, Izuku and Katsuki kind of take off like their attire, which is like basically this stuff, like clothes that look like this, and everyone just sees that they're kind of ripped. And then Kirishima, like, takes off his clothes, and he's kind of seen these two, so he's not really surprised about it. But all the guys are just kind of looking at these two. They're like, whoa, these guys are kind of ripped. And they're not like bulky muscles, but like they're toned to holy hell. And then they see Hiroshima's wearing these weights and stuff, and they're like, Kirishima, what is that? And he's like, oh, it's just some clothing that has a little bit of weight to them that helps me build some strength and is helping train my quirk a little bit. Because the stronger I physically get, the stronger I can make my hardening and all this other stuff, and yada yada. So they go through all this stuff, and everyone is kind of looking at Izuku and Katsuki for a little bit. And so they come out to the field. Aizawa's like, Kirishima, what's the longest distance that you got in middle school? And he's like, I don't know, I think like 80, 90 meters. And Aizawa tosses him a ball, and he says, throw it. And so Kirishima throws the ball, and it's 150 meters. And then he's like, he has like a look of disappointment on his face, and Aizawa's like, what's wrong? He's like, what, you didn't go all out? And it's like, that's not the thing, it did, it's just I couldn't really do my best because of these weights. And Aizawa's like, take them off and do it again. So Kirishima takes his shirt off, and like it reveals like a padded shirt and everything. So he takes that off and drops it. It creates a tiny crater. Then he takes his gauntlets off, and same thing happens, but smaller. And then he just removes his boots, and then he removes his belt, and it does the same thing as the gauntlets. And then Aizawa tosses him another ball, and then he hucks it, and this time he gets 310 meters. And then everyone's kind of shocked, and they're like, because like he just removed some weights, and they made small craters in the ground. And then Ashido asks him when he comes back to the line after he's put his gym shirt back on, and has kind of like collected the other clothing items, and he's kind of just set them to the side. And then Ashido comes up to him and asks, he's like, how did you improve so much? And he's like, very, very intense training with those two. And I couldn't even keep up with their daily routine. And Ashido just kind of looks at Katsuki and Izuku, and she kind of looks at Izuku, and she thinks he's kind of cute. And she's like, oh, he's kind of cute. Can you introduce me to him later? And Kirishima is like, yeah, sure, whatever. And so everyone's just kind of looking at Izuku and Katsuki, because they're kind of like going back and forth with like arguing. And Katsuki's like, how about we just use 50%? And then Izuku says, that would be too much, we'll probably destroy something. And it's like, well, how about 10%? And it's like, I still think that's too much. I think we should only use 5%. Like that should be enough for us, right? And Katsuki's like, yeah, you're right. It's just, we've never like, we haven't been able to go all out since, and Izuku's like, yeah, I know. It's kind of boring to not be able to, like, just flex out and just relieve all this energy. And so everyone's kind of looking at these two like they're kind of weird, besides Kirishima, because he's seen them kind of go at it, but maybe not at full speed. And obviously Aizawa's just looking at these two, is like, oh my god, why do they have to put these two in my class? Why couldn't they just put them in Vlad's class? And so at this point, after they decided that they would only use 5% of their strength, they Katsuki goes, but in the ball throw, we're gonna go all out, right? And he's like, yeah, like we should, but Mr. Aizawa, we can go all out, right? He's like, yes, but don't destroy the school. And then everyone's like, wait, what? Don't destroy the school. And Izuku and Katsuki's like, it's fine, we won't destroy the school. Because Aizawa, like, he recognized these two boys as the two kids that were sitting in the observation deck, and then saw them literally make it from the observation room to the area where Raka and everything was in like a matter of seconds, in combination of their skills. So he already knows these two are pretty strong, and this is kind of like redundant for them, because Nezu explained it to him afterwards, like why they were like allowed in the observation room and everything, like saying that they're or part of a program and stuff like this, and that it's going to be announced at the ceremony and everything. So the rest of the school is trying to figure out, like, who are these two that are in class 1A, that are the two special transfer students and everything. So all the events go pretty much the same. Like, everyone gets like pretty much the same scores, except for like Izuku and Katsuki, and also Shinzo is going to be in 1A because Izuku kind of went up to Nezu and like said, yeah, this kid, like, what's his quirk? Because he didn't do really too well in the entrance exam. And Izuku's kind of, well, can you just like put him in class 1A, because like I think he has potential. And Nezu's like, you're probably right. Okay. If you vouch for him, we'll let him in 1A, but you're going to be kind of responsible for him. So at this point, I'm going to do a side note. The reason why Nezu agreed to this is that he knows Izuku's can really spot like potential in people, and he's really good at quirk training because of the progress that he's made since the first time that he met Izuku. So that being said, Shinzo basically comes in last in a bunch of events, and so he's going to be the one that gets expelled, quotation marks, and everything. And so he's going through, and he's like, he does all the stuff. Izuku and Katsuki, with only using 5%, come in the top 5 on almost every event. So, like, and then it comes to the ball throw. And Izuku and Katsuki are just kind of joking around and everything. So who's going to go first? I'm going to beat you, you know that, right? And then they're just going back and forth, like, it's like, no, I'm going to beat you. No, I'm going to beat you. And everything. And it's like, well, you know, this is going to decide who's better, right? And they're kind of like punching, like playfully punching each other in like the arms and stuff. And This is kind of weirding everyone out, like how they're behaving with each other. And then they hear Mr. Aizawa. They're like, Katsuki Bakugo, you're up. Remember, don't destroy the building behind you. Because when Izuku and everything jumped out of the observation box, they kind of left part of the building, like, in ruin. So, at this point, he tosses the ball to Katsuki, and Katsuki just puts it in the middle of his hands, and then he starts creating micro explosions while holding the ball in place with the explosions and everything, and then he just keeps going at it, and he just keeps condensing the explosions and everything. And then he looks back at Izuku, and he's like, Izu, you might want to put up a shield. And he's like, why? Well, I think I put a little too much power into it. And at this point, Izuku just sends out, like, his blood tendrils and kind of puts everyone in a cone behind him. And then he creates, like, a shell, like a half shell around Bakugo. And all everyone hears is a loud boom! And then just a shockwave shoots out from the half shell of blood that Izuku did. And at this, like, people are kind of mortified and, like, in utter freaking terror of, like, Katsuki, because, like, he just did this, and then you have this guy that's using blood and everything, and they're like, oh, what are these two? And then Aizawa turns the thing and he says, huh, not bad. 10,000 kilometers. And then Izuku's like, hey bro, was that all? Seems like you got a little bit weaker. And Katsuki yells back at Izuku. He's like, man, you know that's way better than what it was last year. He's like, haha, yeah, but that's nothing. And everyone's just looking at Izuku as he walks up, and then they realize, like, part of the field, there's a giant crater in the field, and they're like, what the hell is going on? And so he's like, Mr. Aizawa, do we have another ball? And he's like, yeah, here you go. He tosses it, Izuku holds it, and he's like, he starts to breathe in, breathe out, and then on the fourth time on his exhale, he says release, and he bolts up. Electricity starts, like, surrounding his body and everything, and then he cocks back his hand, and Aizawa raises his quirk, and he just throws it he throws it 420 meters, and Izuku looks back at him, and Aizawa's like, I told you, don't destroy the building behind you. And he's like, and Izuku's like, oh, yeah, I got caught up in it. Sorry. Do you mind? And Aizawa, like, returns his quirk. So Izuku, like, he's thinking, I was like, how am I going to do this without sending a shockwave behind me and hurting someone? And then he's like, oh, I can do it this way. So he powers up again to his max power, and he goes for the ball, and as it releases from his finger, everyone just hears a loud snap, and then a boom, and the ball basically goes to freaking orbit. And Katsuki kind of looks over at Izuku. He's like, dude, what the hell? And then the ball comes right back down. Because as Izuku was, like, letting it go, he attached a little bit of blood and a small tendril, and then he brings it back down, and then a few seconds later, people hear a loud thump in the ground, and the ball has returned. And Izuku's like, well, I think I beat you, Kanchan, and everything. And so that happens. So we skip to the end of the day, and Izuku and Katsuki are walking out the building, and Ida comes running up to them, and he apologizes to him. He's like, I didn't realize you guys were, I thought you guys were just normal students, but from what Mr. Aizawa said and like what I gathered from other students that were in the assembly during lunch, you two were especially transferred in on All Might's request and everything. And he's asked, like, so you guys know All Might? And he's like, and both Katsuki and Izuku are like, yeah, he's kind of helped us out from a young age because we really couldn't control our quirks too well when we were younger. And we kind of, like, always breaking stuff, and we were getting in trouble and everything. And then the government kind of asked All Might to kind of, like, help us out with controlling our quirks. And so Principal Nezu and him kind of, like, have helped us since we were 9 years old to kind of help us develop our quirks and gain control over them. And it's like, wow, that's amazing. So, at this point, Uraraka comes running up, and she's like, hey, are you guys going to the train station? And the three of them is like, yeah, we're going. And then a little bit behind it, Kirishima comes running up, and he's like, hey, Katsuki, hey, Bakugo. And both Izuku and Katsuki turn around, and he's like, no, Katsuki. And he's like, and Izuku's like, oh. And he's like, dude, can we go, like, train some more? And he's like, nah, man, like, kind of wanted Izuku, can you like deal with this? And he's like, yeah. And it's like, and Izuku kind of looks at him and gives him that look, like, dude, here's your chance. She just ran up to us. And Izuku's like, hey, Kirishima, why don't you just come over to our house today? Like, you think your parents would let you come over? And he's like, yeah, I can call him and see. And so Kirishima calls and everything. And he's like, hey, Mom. He's like, Mom, Mom or Dad, can I go over to my friends that I'm at last year's house? Like, they invited me over. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. Are you going to be home tonight? And Kirishima looks at Izuku and Katsuki, and they're like, well, that's up to our mom. And Kirishima's like, well, I can find out if I'm allowed to stay over. Like, they said they would have to ask their mom first, but I can call you back and let you know. And so, like, Kirishima's going to be coming over to Izuku and Katsuki's house. And the whole time there, like, Izuku's kind of nudging Katsuki in the ribs and everything. It's like, ask her, like, kind of like ask her and everything. And Katsuki, like, kind of asks Uraraka, he's like, so I see you got into, like, 1A and everything. What do you do for your font and everything? And she's like, well, I don't really have a lot of interest in everything. And I just wanted to say, like, you two are, like, really strong. Like, how did you two get that strong? And they both kind of answer, like, one after the other. Well, when we were younger, like, ever since my mother passed away, like, mine and Katsuki's quirks kind of, like, went haywire, and, like, we kind of kept losing control and everything. So, like, we told Ida, like, we had some pro heroes help us out with our quirk control because they didn't want us to, like, become menaces to society or something. but we wouldn't have became that anyway because of we want to be like the best heroes we can possibly be, and not just like doing showy stuff, but like helping anyone. So when they get to the train station, Ida and Uraka say goodbye to Katsuki, Kirishima, and Izuku. So we skip to the afternoon. Katsuki and Izuku and Kirishima come to like Izuku and Katsuki's house. Katsuki comes in the door and he's like, "Mom, I'm home." Izuku comes through the door. He's like, "Mom, I'm home and we have a guest." And she's like, "Who is it? Who is it, boys?" And he's like, "You remember that redheaded kid that we told you about?" It's like, "Oh yeah, the hardening guy." He's like, "Yeah, we invited him over to kind of like do some afternoon training. You know, like do some minor like weightlifting and kind of like go over like what we learned today and everything." And and at this point, Kazari comes running up to him and is like, but he promised to take me out for ice cream. Not there." And then Katsuki kind of goes, a forehead moment, because he had totally forgotten about this. And Izuku's like, "Dude, did you forget?" He's like, no, I didn't. Shut up." And he's like, "Well, do you guys want to come with us?" And Izuku and Kirishima was like, "Nah, not really." It's like, I'd rather like study or something," says Izuku, "and like I'd rather work on like do some strength training to like improve my quirk, because I see how much stronger you guys are and compared to like what I am, and I have a long way to go." So Izuku and Izuku's like, "How about this, Kirishima? We go to the beach that we constantly were at and sparring and everything." And Kirishima's like, "You mean your mom's beach?" And he's like, "Yeah, like that beach. And there's also an ice cream shop nearby. So that way Katsuki can keep his promise to our little sister." And Katsuki kind of is like, "Dude, you don't have to rub it in." And he was like, and so they go to the other side of town. Like they tell their mom that they'll be back and they'll watch Katsuri, because like Katsuki did promise to take her out for ice cream to make up for the fact that he left without saying goodbye to her this morning. And so like they do that. And this afternoon, Izuku, in Kirishima, arrive at the beach and everything. And Kirishima is like, "I can't believe your mother was shield maiden." And he's like, "Yeah, like I don't really like talking about it. So could you please not mention it at school? Because every single time when people learn who my mom is, especially if they're from around the area, like they kind of treat me differently. Like that's why I go by M Bakugo, like M-Bakugo, because that way people don't treat me differently. Like being the son of the hero that prevented a terrorist attack kind of makes people treat me differently. They either ask me a bunch of questions about my mom, or they kind of like leave me alone, or just feel sorry for me or something. And it's kind of annoying. So like, could you please just not talk about my mother like in school, like who she is? And Kirishima was like, "No problem, dude. Like I've got you." And so now we cut over to Katsuki and Katsuri, and Katsuri's kind of pouting at like Katsuki, and Katsuki's like, "What's wrong, Suri-chan?" And she's like, "Oni-chan, like you forgot, didn't you?" And he's like, "I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I'll get you anything you want. How about this? If Mom says it's okay and she comes with us, I can like give you around I can fly you around the beach and everything, like, on the weekend. And she's like, yay, that sounds great. So Katsuki's like, in every, and so they, in the day, they go home, and Kirishima remembers that he forgot to, like, do a few things at the house, a few chores at the house, and he's like, oh crud, like, I'm sorry, like, I can't really stay over, I've gotta, like, go home. So Katsuki, Izuku, and Katsuri, like, go home and everything, and they have a nice family dinner. Izuku and Katsuki go over, like, what happened at school today. And, oh, I forgot to mention, Izuku kind of tells Aizawa that, because he goes to expel Shinzo, but then Izuku, like, explains to Aizawa that his quirk really isn't suited for this kind of stuff. If you look at your paperwork, you would realize, like, the potential behind his quirk, and so Aizawa looked through the files and everything, and he was like, oh yeah, you're right. It's your lucky day, Shinzo, but if I don't see any improvement from you, you're out of here at the end of the semester. Yes, sir, says Shinzo. And then Shinzo, like, kind of said, thank you. And so this will be the end of part 2. Like I said, I am going to try to keep these between 20 and 30 minutes, so I'll go over each arc a little bit, and some critique, comments, and everything would be nice. But again, if you're malicious about it, I will block you from the comment section. Have a nice day, and enjoy the beginning of the new year.